Do you have a landscape location you continually struggle with? I do. Okay, last year I took myself off to a location in North Wales called Llandulus. Now this is a very simple location with a flat beach, some sort of rocks in the middle, groins, a nice marker post out in towards the sea for the tide, and some decent skies because it's the North Wales coast and it's very attractive. However, I went there on 2 occasions last year within a couple of days of each other. First of all, I shot a sunset, and very pretty it was too, but I don't really shoot sunsets, so although it was pleasant enough, it wasn't me, and I felt I sort of let myself down by going for the cliche of the sunset. So the next day, I actually got up very early. Actually, I think it was a couple of days later. I got up very early and I went down there first thing in the morning, and I decided to shoot something that was more me. And I went for that sort of long exposure black and white look with a digital camera. Now, I'm not convinced that this is my style, and I said so on the video at the end that I think I'd sort of again fallen for that cliche of sticking a 6-stop on and going for black and white. And I said I'd revisit and have another crack at the location. Well, it's been a year, but I've actually gone back, and I had in my mind this time something more me, more subtle, more pastel. Definitely colour this time though. I didn't really think black and white was doing it. It was again a bit cliched. I mean, I don't do much long exposure and it's not really my thing, but I have seen a lot of good long exposure. I don't want to use it as a sort of crutch to fall back on every time, as in the light's rubbish, stick a 10-stop on, but I do think it has its place, and a little bit of long exposure is very effective. Now, I had to make a decision on camera and film before I set off, obviously, and I decided to go with my Minolta twin lens reflex. This is an Autocord from sort of probably the mid-50s or early 60s, so even older than me. And it's very simple. It's just got a single lens on it with a standard focal length. Takes 12 shots per roll in the 6x6 format. And one of the other critical reasons I took it is it's not been out for a while and it's feeling a bit lonely and neglected, so I thought I'd give it a run. Now, film-wise, I went with Portra 400. It's a very soft, subtle film, and I would have actually gone with Portra 160, but I looked in the fridge and there wasn't any there. So I was constrained to using the 400, which is a beautiful film. And it would give me that pastel look I was looking for. I don't want really sharp colours. I don't want super saturation. If anything, I'll probably desaturate the film once I process it. So this is the record of the trip. Let's see if I manage to capture something which more accurately represents what I've got in my mind and isn't so cliched. Well, here I am down on the beach. It's first thing in the morning and there's a nice bit of light coming up over the horizon. It's still well off sunrise. I am early, but I do want to get set up. Now I'm thinking of going down there by the marker post, the sort of tide marker, because I'm going to get some interest in the shots as per the previous visit. Although I do have the option as well of just going for the expanse of beach and some of the rocks strewn around, and I've also got these old sort of remnants of groins running out into the sea. So yeah, plenty of choice, and a nice mild wind as well whipping the cloud along. Fantastic. Now I have decided to set up and take a couple of early shots, even though it's still quite dark. I was getting around about 1 or 2 seconds with my Portra 400, and I took 2 at that setting, but I did want to slow things down a little bit to get a little bit of movement in the water primarily, not so much the sky. So I have put a 3-stop neutral density filter in front of the lens, and I'm shooting around about 16 seconds now, 8 to 16 seconds anyway. That should give me plenty of movement and also soften out a lot of the sort of cloud and basically make it a bit more ethereal, a bit more misty, a bit more moody and atmospheric really.
Well, I've taken a few shots of the incoming tide and the marker post, and I'm just now waiting to get a little bit closer. The tide is receding. I am losing a bit of that beautiful, beautiful warm light though. It's getting close to sunrise now, so I'll just have to see if I can get some different compositions. Well, I'm doing quite well, I think. I'm on my second roll of film. I'm taking shots between around about 2 seconds and quarter of a second at the moment. I've thrown a few much longer exposures in with the 3-stop ND. They're running to about 15 seconds. And I've moved position a couple of times. The light's not as intense now, but I am getting those subtle pastel colours. And I'm taking different angles, some of the marker post for the tide, and I've also got some long shots down the beach. Obviously only got one lens, so I'm quite restricted, but that is making me concentrate more on the composition and stop fretting about trying to cover every single angle, literally. Well, the sun has come up now beautifully, and it's also catching some of the clouds behind me and making them all pink and fluffy and very, very attractive. So I'm going to take a couple of frames and I'm going to put the marker post smack bang in the middle. I don't mind doing that with a square format. It just gives a real balance and a real symmetry to the image. Well, the sun's fully up now and I am struggling to shoot in that direction. If you see behind me exactly what I mean. So my options are really restricted to shooting down towards the beach, and if I shoot behind me I end up getting a long shadow, obviously because the sun's so low in the sky. So I think I've probably got about another 5 or 10 minutes picking out the odd detail composition, maybe something with a bit of sand and a bit of light reflecting off it, maybe 1 or 2 of the rocks, and that'll be it for the day.
Okay, so how do I think I got on the trip? Not particularly well, I'm sad to say. I think I failed again, although I've got a little bit closer this time. I think I've got one image which is approaching what I imagine, what's in my mind for this location. But I've got a lot of dross as well, which I'll show you now. Starting with this rather lackluster effort here. Colours are a little bit wishy-washy. It's not so much pastel as washed out. Don't like it. No. The marker post in the centre just doesn't work. The sky's not strong enough. It's not lit up. It's probably the wrong time of day. The bit of a jetty going out. No, it doesn't work at all for me. This one a little bit better. I mean, I'm liking the colours, I'm liking the patterns of the waves coming in. Marker post's okay, but it's not really that balanced. The marker post is too far off to the left. The sun, no, it's not working at all. It's not really hitting it. And similarly, this one, sky's quite nice. I like the pattern of the sky. The sun's hidden behind a cloud. Too many rocks though. Just look at the clutter in that right hand side, and also a couple of rocks in the foreground are doing absolutely nothing. Not really, but I did get one I quite liked, and that's this one here. Now I quite like it because it's got a softness to it. This is around about 1 second exposure, and I'll explain why in a minute. It's also got a simplicity. There's just the one rock over on the far right hand side, which is sort of giving the eye something to go on to apart from the sun. The sun's in about the right position, and the composition is reasonably balanced. There's this sort of soft wave coming in from the left, which has been blurred by the 1 second exposure, and I'm liking the pastel colours. I do like the colours in this shot, so it is approaching what I was after. Now, one of the problems I had with this particular shoot is something which I should have checked before I went, and that's the fact that my Minolta Autocord is having problems when shooting on B. Let me try and demonstrate. Okay, the shutter's opening and closing within about a quarter of a second. It's not actually holding open, so there is a fault with the shutter mechanism for the bulb exposure. So all the ones I took at longer exposures than 1 second have failed. They've come out dreadfully underexposed. That's my own fault for not checking before I went. I did have it serviced last year and it was fine. It's not been used. It's an old mechanical camera. These are the sort of problems you get. So they were trashed, those other ones. But I'm thinking still, by looking at this, that the best exposure is around about the 1 to 2 second mark, because it's not too blurred. You've still got that definition in it. It's not milky. It's just not too much. Now, I have failed. I would consider I've failed 3 times now. Sunset the first time, no. Second time went back and did the black and white digital long exposure, no. This one, the third time, again, it's getting closer, but I'm not there yet. So I am going to have to go back. Now, sorry to say this, film fans, but digital is vastly superior in these situations because you can make as many exposures as you like. There is no cost associated with it. I shot 3 rolls of Portra. Now that's getting on for around about £20 of film. And then you've got the processing costs, all the scanning time. It's a ton of effort for one good picture or one mediocre picture. And I would be much better advised to go back with a digital camera such as my Panasonic G9, but I'm not, because I want the look of film. I love the look of film, and it's something which won't beat me. So I am going to persevere, and I am going to get it right next time, hopefully. But I will need to think about camera. I will probably take a different camera next time. I've not decided which one. And I'll probably take Portra 160 because it's even softer and it will give me the naturally long exposures because it's a slower film. So thank you for enduring this third or fourth failed outing. So third failed outing with me, and I will definitely revisit the location. I will beat it. It won't get the better of me. It's one of those things. It's my nemesis, and yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll see you next time.